Alrighty. So, been asked to do quite a few bits and pieces of help with somebody's build, and I've mostly just been messaging them in Discord so that we could help each other as kind of a community, but here I figured I'd record it and actually put some things together. So, one of the very kind viewers here made a max roll for me to go check out his character, and first things first, I see one thing he did better than me. He managed to get meditate into his webpage, what I'm kind of jealous about. Every time I tried, it just would not let me put in meditator avatar. So anyways, let's get back to the build here. He's saying that the number one thing he's having issues with is defenses. I'll go over everything in kind of a set order. I'm just going to go through the skills here first, and then the equipment, and then the tree, just to make it kind of consistent and easy. So first things first, let's meditate. Wind wave makes sense. Ingenuity makes sense, yeah, so you can use it more often. Breakable is a good one, and energy barriers, yeah, that's all the same kind of stuff I'd put for my meditate. Ice strike, he's got martial tempo, concentrated effect, armament, cold infusion, inspiration. It's all doing kind of decent, except for he's got the herald of ice, herald of thunder. Does he have? Oh, he's using pulse recline. That's how he's getting the uh, chain explosions off with herald of ice. So then he wouldn't need to put cold infusion in with his herald of thunder. I personally like it the other way because that way you free up a ring slot, which gives you a lot. But we'll probably talk about that when it comes to survivability. With Tempest Spell, Rage is not the right one to use. I mean, sure, you can get some rage when you're dropping it, but it's not nearly consistent enough at all. You'd get a little bit on bosses, but it'd be dropping off if you have any downtime with it. Font of Rage, that's a much better one. Heft, he's using the Hands of Wisdom in action with Pillar of the Cage Gods. You have basically zero physical damage, so a Heft is doing basically nothing. And Overabundance. So, of these Tempest Bell supports, only Font of Rage and Overabundance are doing anything. The rest are pretty much useless. You get a little bit from this Rage support, but not nearly enough. Hand of Chayula with Freezing Mark, Hypothermia, Heightened Curse. Yeah, that's fine. It's not really going to... I mean, Freezing Mark is really nice for getting some good AoE explosions off that will help your Herald of Ice if you're having issues, but I don't think you'll have any issues doing that with the Pulse Recline. But maybe it's needed for bossing, but let's check out here. Perpetual Charge for your Charge Staff, Lightning Exposure. If you're using... Okay, good. He's probably using the Electrocute with... You're not using Electrocute? What? You have Neural Overload, but no source of Electrocute anywhere. Okay, so right off the bat here, Charge Staff, Perpetual Charge good, Lightning Exposure, it could be good if you're using it to shock, and you have the more chance to shock here. I don't like that. I would put that, if you're going to take off the Pulse Recline, I'd put it back onto the Herald of Ice so that it can shock to proc Herald of Thunder than Herald for Ice, but you're going with Cold Infusion on your main hand, so if you're set on keeping Pulse Recline, probably put Neural Overload and Electrocute on your Herald of Thunder because it already can't shock, and then you're saving a lot of room for your Charge Staff, because right now, like Conduction and Lightning Exposure, they're just... I mean, you could keep that a little bit. It's definitely not optimal. You're already going to have enough lightning damage that even with your Ice Strike, you're going to be shocking all the time. Like, it's a non-issue. Now with your Herald of Ice, you got Ambush, which keeps things popping. Cold Pen, depending on your crit chance, you might not need with Sunder My Enemies, but for right now, this seems to be I don't know what your crit chance is, but I'd assume that's definitely not needed this cold pen. You could probably get something better in there. Long shot is very good. Magnified is very good. Maybe get Ice Bite in here instead of cold pen. Or actually no, put Ice Bite on Herald of Thunder and put Innervate on Herald of Ice. So that way, if you're using Herald of Ice to shock, which it will shock anyways because you got the lightning damage for it, it'll give you Innervate. But right now, the only thing that you got to freeze, because you don't have the cold infusion on Herald of Thunder, is your Ice Strike. So you should probably... I mean, they're all good. These are all good. And this is a 6th link already. If you don't need the reduced mana cost, I'd say put Ice Bite on your Ice Strike right now and put Inspiration somewhere else. But honestly, Inspiration for your setup is best on Ice Strike. It just depends on if you have mana issues or not. I'd say swap it out with Cold Infusion and put Cold Infusion on Herald of Thunder to make even more pops, but you probably don't need it with a Pulse Recline. But honestly, with that couple little changes, you could get rid of the Pulse Recline, no issue. I'm not seeing any reason to keep it, but it's user preference. If you really, really like it, go for it. Wind Dancer with Culling Strike. It's okay. You're never gonna feel it. You're never gonna have a rare unique enemy get popped with Culling Strike. I don't know if it works or not. I've tried, but the testing was very inconsistent. But there's a chance that Unbreakable and Wind Wave could be really good on Wind Dancer. Wind Wave seems very... Actually, Wind Wave would be the way to test to see if it's working on Wind Dancer, if it didn't already have the big wind pop. So that's why I haven't been able to test that one properly. I just can't see the direct relation to it because it's being covered by the Wind Dancer pop. But yeah, you got Grim Feast. If you have any bit of Spirit left over, you should probably get Clarity in there because you're rocking a pretty low. You should definitely have Spirit left over because you got Lead Me Through Grace and Split Base. And so this is 30, 60, 90, 120. I've only got 120. Oh, sorry, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. So all you'd need is 160. Unless 170 with precision. Oh, there's Clarity. My bad, I spoke too soon. Okay, so you got it at least. There's there. And Herald of Thunder. The Lightning Pen is good. Well, it's not necessary with this if you have Ambush on this guy, but you can only put Ambush on so many things. Inflict cold exposure for 8 seconds on critical hit with cold damage. You don't need cold exposure. Not needed at all. You get more cold damage on Herald of Ice and you hit more things, so if you're desperate for the cold exposure you could have had on Herald, but even then it's not good on Herald. Yeah, I don't like this at all. Okay, so obviously my gem setup takes a little bit of everything into account. I would say, again, remove Cold Infusion, put it on your Herald so that way you can drop Pulse Recline. That's my number one thing right now. If you're having struggles with defenses, this is the first and most obvious thing before even looking at the rest of your gear. And looking at your weapon, it's a good weapon with the 36 crit damage. I used it for a while as well, but the one with 12% increased weapon damage and then 2 slots for crit damage is better. If you can somehow find one with also 3% attack speed, that's insane. But 12% weapon damage for 5 strength and 2 sockets is like 10 or 20% more damage. I think it was somewhere in between there, depending on how much base damage you're rocking with. But it's a big damage boost, so that would help. But if your clear speed is 4, you probably don't need it right yet. You got a belt with 2 charm slots for the golden, thawing, and stone. I hope Stone Charm is doing something for you. I did not feel it being helpful at all. It felt like every time I had it on, it did literally nothing. Thawing Charm is useful. It can be inconsistent, but it's definitely useful. You got good res on your belt, and you got the two charm slots for plus two charm slots for three charms. But the issue with belts, unfortunately, Ingenuity is kind of the best in slot by a massive margin, because the prefixes on belts don't really matter. You don't care that much about the armor. You really don't care about the life. The mana can be okay, but it's not a big deal. So, and you obviously don't care about thorns on here whatsoever. Uh, on the boots, nice try res, big mana, big evasion. If you don't have mana issues, you could get a little more evasion on here. But first things first is I'm gonna have to check your tree here because you got evasion helmet, evasion boots, and split base chest. So you're gonna have crazy, crazy, crazy low mana or energy shield. And then this ring is nice int, really good all res. You got low all attributes, but that's something to work towards. This is a pretty nice ring. Increased lightning damage, adds cold damage. This is going to do a lot for your mapping. Yeah, you don't need Pulse Decline at all with the hands, with the weapon, and with this ring. If you can work towards Ingenuity, even a cheaper one that's not corrupted would do wonders for scaling all of this. It'll give you more big int for the more lightning damage base to work with everything, more all res. That mana would help with even less needing mana items on gear like this. The lightning damage scale's nice, but the big thing is the cold. The cold will pop everything. You'll have less troubles than even I do because I don't have base cold on my ring yet. Yeah, everything I'm seeing, you do not need Pulse Decline whatsoever at all. This is not needed. The increased cold damage is nothing for you. The chilled is nice, but again, not needed with the gear you have. You can very much so swap over and you will not need this. Nice Tri-Res Helm, good, good rarity, but I'm seeing super low base defenses on all of these. I'm gonna have to check your actual tree right away. This is a really nice chess piece. Okay, so this is a good chess piece. It could definitely be a lot higher. I think the increased evasion energy shield can roll to like 170, I think. Let me just check that on trade. See what happens here. And it's also a level 65 base. Okay, so that's an issue. The lower the level of the base item, the lower level stats it gives you initially and overall, so it scales worse, but it is a nice base. It's got great stats. It's just, if you're having trouble surviving, this is a huge thing to be able to up your survivability by a lot. I'm going to assume you want to stick with energy shield and evasion, so I'll make those both 1 here. Let's see if I can get it to half the screen and keep showing. Well, that was weird. So get it to half the screen here. I guess with my big monitor it's doing a really poor job of showing things off here. So it looks like you're trying to stick with the attributes, so I assume you have your resistances figured out. It'll be a little difficult if you have to swap the helm and boots, which I think you will. If you're having problems surviving, it might be. I'm just going to quickly peek into this. Hold on. Okay, so that's an issue right there. Okay, you are rocking evasion, 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 everything. You're right to go with Spectral Ward, but drop these travel nodes and come up here through the enhanced reflexes to get up top here to get this extra evasion, and then slip through here to get to the jewel, and then pick this up without getting this guy to save you points. You're going to need to drop some points somewhere, probably with damage. Definitely drop these herald nodes with your weapon. This guy right here, you're going to have so much scaling that when you drop this, it's not actually going to be that much of a damage loss. This here looks really nice on paper, but it does not scale very nice. You're doing good coming down to the attributes. Definitely get this intelligence. Okay, so you got all this increased maximum energy shield, but you have no base energy shield whatsoever. Okay, so we're just gonna fix that if this will let me. Okay, so this won't let me click around to fix things. What you're gonna do is you're gonna drop all of these nodes here because they're basically doing nothing for you. Don't worry about damage. You have survivability issues. Drop this node, Killer Instinct. They just patched this yesterday or the day before, so it's no longer double dipping. It's now a very inefficient node to get. Take that out completely. Stay here. Repurpose this pathing to come up through here, come through here, pick up this guy, pick up this guy with your controlled metamorphosis, and is this mid large or large? It's large. I think you can still select this one if you got it, so that's a very nice one if you're going to be sticking with all this evasion. I highly think that you should come out of here. If you're going to stay split base, definitely come this path here, up around like I was just talking about, stay here. I think it's probably the best method to build this. I don't have one myself, I didn't find one that's better than what I got, but get rid of your evasion only boots and helmet because that is getting you killed. It is causing you to have literally zero energy shields, except for the very little bit you get from your chest and this one node. You need some other energy shield stacking mods to be able to survive. You're going to use this node and these nodes, obviously, to get your energy shield up. And if you're sticking that way, you're probably going to come up here for this node as well to have more energy shield to get even more reduced mana cost. I assume you're having mana cost issues based on your gear. So first things first, drop all of this. And I know these power charge nodes are nice, but drop them. They're not efficient, not compared to everything else you need. Drop these heralds. Yeah, drop all those. Focus on, right now, your energy shield evasion. Get the energy shield gear. Holy crap, you need a helmet and gloves with energy shield. You're stacking nothing. You probably have like 2,000 energy shield. Get rid of all this. Get rid of all this. And focus on things that will help you more immediately. Like this is unfortunately a lot of wasted stats. Like all this can be repurposed. If you really need it, you can even come up here. I know this is kind of a terrible node. Depending on what your attributes are looking like, if they're kind of low, it might even be better to just straight up drop controlled metamorphosis, come up here and end at proficiency, and then path down here to this point, take your jewel, and ooh, that's minus 18%. Ooh, that's gonna be hard to build around. If you can get one that's minus like 10%, they're usually only about a div. You could probably sell this and buy one for nearly the same price. But if you were to take this, move it so that you don't need to come down here and just to get Maiming Strike and Falcon Technique, because if you're evasion, you're going to be coming into here and getting it. You could get all of these nodes. It's very, very good and efficient. And you come down here through this pathing, because you're not going to have these three here. You're going to be coming down here, so it'd be 4 points, even more, because you'd have to come over. So you're saving like 5 or more points getting to this node. You can get Wildstorm. If you sell this and get a mid-large one, you can also get Serrated Edges for more crit, and you can get Mental Toughness for even more reduced mana cost if you need it. I don't think there was any other super amazing necessary one. There's a bunch that hit in here, but not ones that you really need. This is a good area though, because you get the escape velocity, and I don't think any of those are anything worthwhile, but Maiming Strike, Bestial Skin, like you get a lot of good stuff here. It's just currently with what you have, it'd be better to come through. Yeah, you definitely need this node right here, this Ingenuity. you're missing it. It's a lot. It's a lot, a lot, a lot. It's worth more than basically everything else you're doing. Man, there's just so many wasted nodes on this right now. It's extremely inefficient, unfortunately, and I know that's a new player coming into Path of Exile 2 thing. This is a chunky system, and it's all about refining, refining, refining. So, like, you're gonna spend a few more points in here, but you probably got about 20 or more nodes that you just don't need right now with all of this, these, this pathing. Yeah, probably got like 20 nodes. That's basically a free thing to give you a lot more survivability, but it's not going to give you the level of survivability that you're going to be wanting to see until you swap out these boots and helmet. That's your number one. Unfortunately, they're very, very nice resistances. It's going to be hard to replace it, but you need to. You have no energy shield, which is essentially no life. If you're rocking this, honestly, it'd be better to get rid of Chaos Inoculation because it's jacking your life down to 1, and unfortunately, you don't have much of a life pool at all with your gear. So it's not even like you can take it off and be more survivable. It's just the gearing is really holding you back hard. And honestly, most of the upgrades that you'd need, you could probably get them for like a couple of Exalt or a Div apiece, and you'd massively up your survivability. So like, here, yeah, let's just do evasion rating and energy shield and something with increased evasion, and I'm not even gonna pretend like we're gonna figure these out, but here, let's just go Dex and Int because it can only roll Dex and Int on here. Not caring about the values right yet. You have 958 on here as your base. Let's say minimum evasion 1000. Yeah, we're even going to switch it over to Exalted Orbs, see what pops up. Yeah, for 60 Exalted Orbs, you can already get something that's very comparable, but let's also go required level 75, so it's the movement speed one and not the chaos res. Okay, so there's none in Exalted Orbs, but relative. That is, yes, it's less attributes, but a little bit more survivability, not really worth it. Let's just say a minimum 400 energy shield. What's it going to cost you? So there's a couple for 2 divine. I know you're losing attributes, but you need to live. If you're not living, it's not worth it. So that one will give you a little bit of extra to work with. It's not the best, but it's definitely pretty decent. It's actually quite decent. And it comes with a big cold res. So this right now immediately would help with your gearing requirements. It would help you drop the pulse recline without needing to worry about the cold res. This I would suggest getting. Worry about the attributes later. You're going to have the damage, but right now you need to live. If you're wanting to go 222 energy shield and energy shield and drop the dex. Let's just say you want 800 energy shield. This one is less important. I think you can be level 70 on it. The level 70 base. I can't remember what the level 70 base does. That's the mana regen. This is faster energy shield recharge rate. Yeah, either of these are fine. And then we come here for Exalted Orbs. There's a bunch on Exalted. And just for, I got 871 on mine. You can get an extremely high energy shield base, which will give you the basis of everything to survive with. You're going to get hit by more things, but at least you'll survive the hits. Again, you're going to lose a bunch of stats, but if it means actually surviving, and the fact that you're only going to be paying a couple of Exalt, that's not a bad time at all. This one that's corrupted to have extra, it's actually not much better than anything else on here. Looking for something. This one's got some resistances. This one, you don't need the chaos res. All these just for less than 100 exalt. we're getting to about the 1 div mark, so it's no longer worth looking in here. But yeah, there's a couple in there that are already going to be helpful for you. Divine Orbs. Yeah, for a Divine Orb, this one's massively better than what you got. Huge defenses, a little bit of attributes, big cold res, same as the last one. The other one's probably a little bit better off, but I mean, we're just trying to get you what's essentially life right now. This one here is not qualityed. When you quality it up, it'll be 807. These are all quite good. This one here, even 29 int, but no res. 22 int, a little res. Good fire res, small int. I know I could weighted some of these, but for right now, this is not doing too bad. You know what? Let's even clean it up some more. We'll come in here. We'll do a weighted sum. We'll do all the resistances. Cold, lightning, and int. We're going to want 80 weighted sum with int weighing for 2. So that way you're going to get a decent bit of int, but also, let's make it 60. So that way, if you had, you might get a massive int in here popping up with no res, but for the most part you'll get stuff like this. So yeah, 1 divine, you're getting a good fire res, good int, really good energy shield base that you just need to quality up. This one here, just a big int. This one here, good resistance, a little bit of int. Still 1 div. Okay resistances, a bunch of int, big energy shield. Like, this is all stuff that you can afford. Now we're into 2 divine, so I'm just going to ignore that for now. Now for boots, or actually let's go with helmet here. We'll just leave the same stats on here. So now instead of energy shield, body armor, all that jazz, I'll try to do maximum 0 armor so that we can pop up here minimum 1 energy shield and do any helmet. Wrong place. Helmet. There we go. We'll switch this back to Exalted Orbs to find something for you. Yeah. For an Exalt, this is already better than what you got by quite a bit. There's a whole bunch on here for basically free. Nobody cares about what Exalted Orbs cost. My thing's got 250 energy shield. It's pretty beefy. Let's come here and say you want at least 190 energy shield for a really good helmet base in here. Minimum, you're still looking at 1 exalt for all the right stats. Yeah, you can get good stuff on the cheap. Don't get like this base energy shield one if it's that low. But for anything split, you're going to get good stuff. Let's just say 220 energy shield base, because if you get a pure energy shield base, it's obviously going to give a lot more. Ooh, I could also add dexterity and strength to this. See what happens. See if anything else pops up. Not right now. But yeah, we're seeing a ton at 1 exalt, so you're going to find something worthwhile. Try to, if you're going to get energy shields, try to get something with, like this one has life on it, already has over 200 energy shield on it. It's honestly probably not the best, I got it overpriced, but whatever. I thought people might get it for the resistances and rarity. If you want to go shoot for the moon here, I don't know how high energy shield on helmets go. 400 energy shield on this helmet, and it's 77 exalt. You got a big intelligence on there. You're gonna need resistances. This one from 99 has a good lightning res. Like, there's a lot of decent stuff to look with. I don't know exactly how much you got to work with. If you got divines, you're going to get decent stuff for divines, but stick with exalts first. You're going to get a lot of quality out of that. You don't necessarily need to go energy shield flat, but at least get a split base or a big flat energy shield base. If you get flat energy shield, you can get 2 resistances and an attribute. If you get split like mine, granted armor is the worst of the split options, but I got strength and int as well as a good resistance, so this works for me. And the last thing was your boots. Your boots, oof, your boots. Again, they were just good movement speed and good resistances, but they were evasion again. Come here, at least 25 movement speed. Check it out. We're on Divine still. Switch this back to Exalt. You're going to need anything with any sort of resistances, I assume. Here's a big cold res, big intelligence. Work with what you need. I don't know exactly what numbers you need because I can't see your character panel, but there is a ton of things in here for cheap. People are selling things on the cheap all the time. Say you want, I got 311, say you want at least 250 energy shield. Let's go for that. It's a pretty high number. You're still getting an okay pair for 70 exalt. Really low resistances, so that might be something that you can't deal with. Come here for divines, and there you go. Big fire res, low lightning, big fire res, big medium fire res. This one's kind of junk. Again, you just need something with, there you go, a couple of res on this one. They're low, but when you swap out the pulse decline ring, like, you're gonna get a ton more stats. Just get something with all res and it'll help fill that gap, because your pulse decline ring is doing basically nothing for you. This here is not necessary. This is a nice belt, but you're gonna want to move away from it eventually. If you can get too big all res on your rings, when you swap to the ingenuity belt, it will keep the res high. It's a decent amulet actually. 25 all attributes, big strength, big all res. This is a really nice amulet. Unfortunately, the prefixes are junk, but it's a pretty nice amulet overall. The number one thing is the suffixes, so that's one of the last things you need changing. I'd say in no particular order, all three of these need to go. Same thing with this ring. This ring is number one. Then these guys are 2, 3, 4 in no particular order. And then swap out the belt whenever you have the big divines, but that is a chase goal. Use this to cap your res. I would drop Stone Charm and Golden Charm. Stick with Thawing Charm for now. If you really wanted to spend the 2 points on the tree right right here to get Hunter's Talisman, that will save you a lot. Alrighty, that's what I got for this. You have a lot of room to improve for very cheap. Your passive tree, your skills, and your equipment all need work, but I hope this will help you out. It's a lot, and I hope this helps. See ya.